Hello everyone, I'm Hugo.
And I'm Jake, the important one.
And this is Jake Reads.
Number Sexual Hamlet. It's a tiny settlement, but there's a lot of sexual tension there.
Oh, I was assuming it was the Shakespearean, like he took the jester skull and skull fucked it.
No.
Okay.
Not the case.
Well, I guess we have different interpretations then. Take that as you will. So anyway, this is from an Ask Hugo, sniping my questions as per usual.
I try.
Adam James Ring. Hey Hugo, do you think indoctrinating children into religion should be considered child abuse? Note, even the Church of Satan, Satanic Temple don't practice their atheistic religion around their children till they reach 18.
I like that Adam James Ring has his own logo, which I can't hate on, because we too have our own logo.
Is it really a logo if it's just three letters
AJR?
with a blue background?
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Anyways, I do not think that it's considered child abuse in most scenarios because it's just a belief that they think is true. I mean, is it indoctrination or child abuse if we were to teach our children evolution and then it turned out to be false? It's just not. And maybe you could argue that some religions have tenets that would involve things that may be unhealthy, like the idea of sin and telling you that you're born into a sinful body and, you know, all that stuff. But largely, it's a pretty positive community they're ending up in. Like, not a lot of people are into this abusive religion sort of thing. It's mostly pretty benign social Christianity that we're talking about here.
I agree for the most part. The only caveat I would give, if it's like the Jesus camp type where you're like clearly fucking with these kids' emotions constantly, then that's a psychological abuse issue. And I think sometimes things, like depending on how heavy you are on the whole hell, you're a piece of shit, you're sinful stuff, that can be pretty fucked up.
Yeah.
But I think painting the entire thing as child abuse is kind of lessens the impact of what child abuse actually is. Now, indoctrination, it is indoctrination in a lot of ways, but everything we teach our kids to a certain extent is indoctrination. Right. That's what teaching your kids from a young age is.
Geocentrism, like B.O.B. thinks that's bad. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Can we just call him Bob, or is it B.O.B.?
I have no idea. I can't imagine it matters.
Yeah.
No one's going to know who that is in a year. Who cares?
But yeah, no, I wouldn't say child abuse largely for the majority of people that are teaching religion to their children. Sometimes, sure, absolutely, but nah.
No, they're just wrong. This next one comes to us from our It's the Law Chicks Tract video. Akila says, I've always wondered why your Jesus is carrying 2 revolvers. Is that just an American thing, or is it actually a subtle statement on almost militant behavior of the fanatical believers like Josh Fierstein or Furstein or whatever?
No, you sound like one of those English teachers that tries really hard to make symbolism in the Grapes of Wrath or like, I don't know, Great Gatsby, like really ring true. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, this it's just a logo, man. I didn't come up with it. Fan Chris Cheap did long ago, like 4 years ago, and he just thought they were cool. It's called Reloaded. You do those to guns. And also, if you haven't noticed, our names are on the hilts of the guns, so maybe we're the guns, and we're shooting straight at you.
Maybe it symbolizes the futility of a capitalist society in which we value greed over the care for the common man.
At best,
nope, they're guns.
At best, it symbolizes our tiny manhood.
Yeah, definitely that. We both have tiny dicks. That's what it is.
Tiny dicks. We have huge balls, though, which is a little cumbersome.
We're like gorillas.
Honestly, I'd rather have it the other way around, even if I was going to be celibate. Big balls are just weird.
This one comes to us from our video that we talked about Scalia dying
and murder cookies, right?
Yeah. Ashbourne Thorkill. That's totally wrong, but close enough.
Thorkill.
I think Thorkill is a better last name.
Thorkill sounds like a scientist in a Goosebumps episode.
This man stood up for the Constitution his whole life. You two are obviously ignorant about this man's career. I will no longer support your channel. Learn your history, guys.
All right. Well, that's fine. Like, you don't have to support the channel. Maybe you're not even watching this. So in this, we made a joke very briefly about how Scalia died. And of course it was a joke. We're not happy that a person is dead, but I don't agree with his decisions in the Supreme Court. But that's okay. As there's a few things wrong with his entire comment. Number one, you should be okay with people disagreeing. Scalia did that his whole life, and he would hate you for this. Like, this isn't something that Scalia would enjoy. Scalia would want you to, tell me why I'm wrong, not that I'm wrong. I know my history, and I know this guy's cases, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. Not all of them, but I honestly read Supreme Court rulings for fun sometimes because I'm a loser.
Yeah.
But luckily...
Not because of that, just in general.
This came in handy. So, you don't have to support the channel. I think that's a weird thing to bail on about, but, whatever,
People have bailed on pettier things. Remember the guy who bailed because of the cat joke we made?
Yeah, but that was serious business. Cats get AIDS.
Again, about Scalia, flaming TPO1. Don't tell you what to do. I have this thing called free speech, you ball-gargling horse-felcher. Scalia did a lot to protect the First Amendment and the Second and the Fourth. So you go right on ahead with your groupthink liberalist atheism plus style blanket statements about pissing on a man's grave who did you a lot of good even if he was a hardline Republican. In short, what I mean by that is when you go beyond the atheism in your content, you throw the facts out the window and go straight for the groupthink.
If it was groupthink, wouldn't we be part of your group, or is it just different group think? It's only group think when it's not your think, apparently, because you also think the same things as a particular group of people. Anyways, I'm leaving this whole thing up. I'm not going to read the top half, but you can. He was responding to me telling, very snarkily, him not to tell me what to do, and I'm a man with a beard that can do manly things. But the atheism plus stuff, we are not atheism plus guys at all. We don't think atheism entails any sort of political allegiance or ideas about politics or social justice or social issues or anything past non-belief of deities and the supernatural. So this whole atheism plus bullshit is garbage. Okay, liberalist. We're liberal, I think, but I don't know if we're liberalist. We don't really subscribe to the Democratic Party, for instance.
No.
I wouldn't say we're very liberal as far as what you're getting on college campuses now. We don't just think whatever the left says. You know what I'm saying?
I also think it's funny that whenever we bring up anything, when you get stuff like this and people accuse you of it, I'm allowed to have opinions outside of atheism too. Right. Just because I don't like Anton and Scalia, that has nothing to do with my thoughts on atheism. They're completely separate. You can have opinions on atheism and then separate opinions. That doesn't make you an atheism plus person.
Right.
I am aware that they're separate, and I wouldn't begrudge anyone who is an atheist to have the same opinions as me just because we happen to have the same stance on the God question or whatever.
I don't know. People are really upset whenever they disagree with something. It's so weird that you guys can't, not you guys in general, but people like this, you guys, you can't stand it when someone disagrees with you. I'm fine that you disagree with me, but I wouldn't call you a ball-gargling horse-felcher. You may be that, but I wouldn't call you that to hurt you. Although just because I'm into that doesn't mean that you get to call me that whenever. Don't out me. Let me do that. But as far as the Scalia stuff, let me give you some reasons why I disagree with Scalia, and you guys can make your own thing. He was very for states' rights, which is fine, but that's kind of a libertarian-leaning idea, and sort of the Articles of Confederation, which predates the current Constitution and stuff, which were the 10 years after we gained independence, which were garbage. But he seems to be a little regressive in the fact that he thinks that the government should be less centralized, which I guess on some point, that's a very Republican conservative viewpoint, but he's picks and chooses when that should be the case. So for instance, he's okay with the death penalty, totally okay. The U.S. government should be able to pull that off, and it is constitutional. But he's against the constitutionality of the right to abortion, which is bodily autonomy for women. So it's the same thing. You're still killing an entity, and I assume he believed that babies or fetuses were potential humans and thus worthy of life, but it's still killing a thing. And the constitutionality of that is just pick and choose. So As far as that's concerned, I disagree with him. He's not very consistent. Of course, his dissent on the gay marriage, his major issue was that the court was wielding too much power, but they did the same thing with blacks and women. It's not wielding power that shouldn't be wielded if you're the Supreme Court justice. That's why you were picked for the job, specifically to solve these kinds of arguments. Is this constitutional? And yes, given the precedent between the women's rights and the blacks' rights and the interracial marriage rights and all that sort of stuff, yes, it is constitutional. You've already set precedent for this sort of thing before. Just because they have sex with the same organs, now it's suddenly different? No, it's the same social issue. It just happens to be a little bit of a variant from the originals that we were working on. And he was very much for not giving a fair trial to detainees of Guantanamo Bay, which part of me understands because I remember 9/11 very well, but the other part of me thinks you still gotta remain loyal to what the Constitution says if you are indeed defending the Constitution, whether I like it or not, guy in the comments section. So I didn't throw facts out the window. These are his actual dissents and decisions. So, like, I don't tell you, I disagree with the man, and I think that he was harmful for the United States as far as his opinions. Now, it doesn't mean that he was in the majority, and he often had to write dissents because he was often on the losing sides of the decisions, which is good for everyone involved, especially, gay people and people that wanted the right to abortion. I disagree with the guy, and that's fine. And the joke was that we're better off for not having his dissenting opinions towards social progressivism, and that was the joke Hugo made. We're not actually happy he's dead. I'm happy he's off the Supreme Court. I'm not happy he had to die to do it.
No, my biggest issue is just that I think he's a hypocrite, basically.
Yeah.
I'd be one thing, if he genuinely, his entire thing was really like he said it was, Constitution to the letter,
sure,
as the original writers intended,
right,
that'd be fine. I could respect that. But the fact is, when he did dissent and it was things that weren't totally spelled out in the Constitution, it was almost always clearly for political reasons.
Right.
It was, he allowed his political leanings to go into his decisions, but he didn't want other people's political leanings that were against his to go into their rulings, if that makes sense.
And then in his last major decision, the Obergefell decision, which is the gay marriage one, he wrote like 3 pages on how the Supreme Court has too much power. But if it would have gone the other way, he would have been like, we did the right thing. I'm glad we have this power. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just, he's not for me. And if he was for you, cool. And I'm, sometimes maybe he did do good stuff like freedom of speech and all that. And I'm glad that he supported that. I can't imagine the freedom of speech hearings were very close. A lot of the decisions he's on the wrong side of as well are like 7-2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's just on the wrong side for exactly what Hugo said. He's just kind of he's putting his politics into it, not checking the constitutionality of a thing. And by the way, the Constitution isn't infallible. That's why they have amendments and the Supreme Court and people that make laws, like the legislative branch. And they have an executive branch to make sure that those laws are followed through with. And stuff like that's the Constitution's not perfect, and they knew it wasn't going to be perfect. So I never understand this whole he defended the Constitution, he was a constitutionalist. That's not necessarily a good thing. Progress happens, and we got to change.
His entire job is to interpret the Constitution, and you refuse to interpret it unless it benefited his political leanings.
Correct.
This was also on the Scalia video. Del Texio, TBR, please outline your political stances.
I figured this was a good way to finish off the Scalia discussion. My political stances. This is a broad question, but I assume he means, like, in a few words, describe who you are as a politician or who you would vote for as politicians and stuff like that. I'd say I'm leaning pretty socialist, although it's more of a pragmatic socialist. Like, I agree with the ideas Bernie Sanders has, but not necessarily the way he wants to fund certain things. I don't agree with Hillary on a lot of stuff because she's more middle than I am. I'm pretty far liberal, but I'm not so liberal that I think like when someone says something hurtful, they should be chastised for it. You know what I mean? So I'm not like Tumblr liberal, but I'm like economically I'm very liberal, And on some social issues, social democrat is probably as close as I can get. Although, again, I do disagree with Bernie Sanders in some ways on how he wanted to fund some of his programs. But that said, he does align with me closest. So as far as the political person I would vote for president, if that's kind of what you're searching for, it would be Bernie Sanders right now. And I really don't like any of the other candidates. He's really the only one that I'm really feeling.
Me, I would have to say the best way I could probably describe it is to describe what I feel the role of government is in general. I think the role of government is to provide services, at least in America, because we are a very capitalist society. I think it's the role of government to provide services that the free market will not, and I believe it is also their job to regulate the free market to ensure that companies are not fucking over their customers in situations where the free market doesn't allow it to behave morally. It should be kind
of a moral center. Like, it shouldn't be governing morality. Like, that's not... But it should keep the free market from becoming straight up immoral. How about that?
Because the thing about business is, I don't think business and corporations are immoral. I think they are amoral. And when the goal is to get more profit, often people get fucked over in the process.
And that's what I mean.
And I think we need checks and balances on that to make sure that people don't get too fucked over in the pursuit of people getting more profit. Which is why I think unions, when used correctly, are a good thing. It helps balance that out. Of course, there are issues with unions where they get corrupt and stuff. But the thing is, businesses already get corrupt. But now on the side of workers, there's no balance. Yeah. So you have most of the power in the hands of the people who own the businesses, which is reasonable. They're accepting more risk than the employees. I accept that the people at the top of the company deserve more money because they have more on the line or whatever, but I think the balance of power is too out of whack at this point. I think outside of the business world, I think people should have as many rights as they can. I think your right to swing your hand stops at someone else's face, basically. You can do what you want as long as you're not hurting other people.
That's as libertarian as I get, there's some stuff about drugs that I'm not necessarily good about because, like, some of it ends up affecting the type of life I live when I have to cohabitate with you. So stuff like heroin, like really hard stuff. But I think weed should be everywhere. You know what I mean? And we could debate that sort of thing forever. But I also have some conservative
We talked about this
leanings.
the other day. We talked about this was on our live show. We talked about, I think that, and someone else in the audience thought, decriminalization and treatment for drugs, basically. You don't go to jail for it if you're in a problem and you're doing it way too much and you're like becoming a public health hazard or whatever. You get put into treatment to try and help you with your addiction issues. I think that's reasonable. I don't think putting people in prison in this constant cycle of drug abuse or whatever is going to help them or society as a whole.
I think criminalization should be more the dealers than the users. But it depends on the drug. Again, weed I don't think is very harmful. In fact, I think it's the least harmful of the recreational drugs that are popular, including alcohol. But say someone that has heroin and that's how they make their living, and a lot of bad shit happens because of that. And maybe that's due to the illegal nature of it. But at the same time, opiates are one of the most addictive things, and human beings are specifically very susceptible to them, and they really affect that's why we get prescriptions for stuff. If you want to get prescribed heroin, okay.
But people abuse prescription drugs.
No, I know. But what I'm saying is, if that's your solution to making it legal and eliminating the air quotes war on drugs, prescription heroin is fine with me because morphine's similar. And people get that depending on the pain and stuff. So it just all depends. I don't necessarily think it should be legal, but giving everyone free reign over it starts to affect the surroundings and your livability. So I think it's good to have restrictions on some of the stuff that we know affects human beings and their physiology very severely. But something that just chills you out, like weed or like hallucinogenics, I don't think are terribly destructive, like mushrooms or LSD is a little hardcore, but DMT could be legalized as long as you're not caught driving, and then I think it should be under the DI or DUI, DWI, whatever. I think you can enforce it the same way as you enforce alcohol for a lot of recreational drugs, as long as they don't breed addiction.
I can understand some things like heroin that are just, like, terribly addictive, but I'm just saying, for things that even might be addictive, but in a reasonable way that
Well,
most
that's what I
people
mean,
don't,
like,
alcohol can become addictive, obviously, but most people drink it recreationally and they're fine.
Yeah, sure. No, I agree
Because
with you.
Because a couple people get fucked up and have addictive personalities, that doesn't mean everyone else needs to be punished. And I feel the same way about, there are people, even though weed isn't addictive, like physiologically speaking, there are people who have habit forming issues and they like use it all the time and it gets out of hand.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
And
What I'm saying is, we fucked up with alcohol.
But see, I don't think we fucked up with alcohol.
I think
reason
we kind of did, based upon how we handled it the first time around, which was prohibition, which made drinking worse even. So if you're gonna keep it legal, that's fine. But I think prohibition is the fuck up. Not that it was legal in the first place, but I'm saying, like, moving forward, you gotta take that into account, because it didn't work out. So if you're gonna legalize something, you can't unlegalize it like after that. So you gotta really pay attention. But the whole war on drugs thing is garbage, and our prisons are worse off for it, and the population's worse off for it, and the economy's worse off for it. I think start with the low level drugs and see what happens, and then move on and see if you can capitalize on it, because people are going to do them. People are going to find drugs, and that's okay, as long as we can sort of regulate the stuff. And I'm not libertarian when it comes to that. Like, I don't have this idea that liberty is somehow good just by virtue of liberty. It's not, because we're dumb. We are dumb animals. And while I agree that most freedom is a good thing, because it gives you agency and all that stuff, there's some shit that as people we shouldn't allow each other to do, like speeding. And like disobeying traffic laws and shooting other people, and like, and I understand, like, it's the you can, it stops where my bubble starts, I get that, but there's a certain type of thing where universal legalization of stuff affects your bubble, whether they're in your face or not, because that's
where the discussions, that's what you have to discuss, is where does it get to the point where allowing people to have these certain drugs would affect society as a whole. But as long as it's not something that's going to affect other people around you, for the most part, I think you should be able to do it.
That's what I mean. I mean, that part of freedom isn't inherently good.
Again, it comes down to comparing it to alcohol, though, because alcohol, clearly, you could argue, if you could eliminate alcohol tomorrow completely, make it so no one could get it, society would probably be better off. You'd have no drunk driving, people wouldn't be alcoholics because they couldn't get it, and theoretically, world would be a better place. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's okay to tell people they can't have it because it exists. I don't know. Again, you can probably see here where Jake and I are differing. You kind of get the idea. Yeah.
And see, we didn't call each other felchers of any animal. Because it's okay, it's healthy to have this. This is how you become a good electorate, an educated electorate. You listen to Hugo and Jake talk about dicks and also legalization issues, and then you can vote better.
Hugo 2016.
Jake 2016. I'll be old.
No, you're gonna have to.
You won't be old enough. No, you won't be old enough. You just won't be.
I'll change it. Don't worry about it. Introverted Smiles. This is from the Quran Reloaded episode 2. This series is going to be revolutionary. Most Muslims want to know what atheists think, and you guys are doing a good job. I'm an ex-Muslim, and I wish I saw something like this when I was Muslim.
50 likes. Good job. Revolutionary? Was the Bible Reloaded revolutionary?
It revolutionized telling dick jokes while reading the Bible.
Maybe that's what they mean. Dick jokes while reading the Quran. I mean, thank you, and I'm happy that you enjoy the program. If you guys haven't seen the program, click the clickety-clack or check the description if you're on your mobile device and it doesn't allow you to clickety-clack. But yeah, I'm having fun with it. I think it's good, and the Quran is crazy, and I really like what's going on over there. And we have a really, really cool intro. And I hope more Muslims come on. And in fact, a lot of people kept saying, you're going to get death threats and whatever. But actually, we get a lot of support from Muslims that are currently Muslims and ex-Muslims. And the worst I've gotten is, you guys aren't Arabic, so you can't do the Quran correctly. Yeah. It's like, but we said that. But we said that in the first one. We're just going to read this one and give our opinions of it.
I'm not gonna learn Arabic for that shit. No way. This is also from the Quran Reloaded episode 2. Come on, fahoho guys. 1. As a Muslim, I love watching your videos to see the atheist point of view. Wow, almost the same comment.
See? I wasn't lying. There's a Muslim right there. Anyways.
This is from, we did a response video to a guy named Dawa Man who said atheists should be okay with drinking their dad's cum, basically. JC Stock, I feel like Jake should have Hugo's voice and vice versa.
That's weird. This guy has a logo too, by the way.
Yeah, maybe a lot of people just have logos. They probably have a channel, actually.
Yeah, probably. Never seen it. Didn't click on it.
Never seen it.
Sorry, buddy.
I don't know. Go check out JC Stock. I haven't seen any video they've done. Maybe they're garbage. I don't know.
That's probably bad. I bet it's Let's Plays.
Maybe.
I don't know if it's Let's Plays. I have no idea. Tell me what it is when you click on it, though. Let me know. Hashtag JC Stock. What is it? It's a terrible hashtag. Don't use it. I don't feel like that. But maybe it's because it's my voice and your face. It just doesn't.
I guess
mine is deeper and I can grow facial hair. So that's how I just decide that I should keep this voice.
I don't know. I don't think about it.
That's it. That's all you got? You never...
This is your show. I don't have to be entertaining.
Oh, I thought that you would have more of an opinion on this.
Nope. Not my job to facilitate conversation.
Actually, that is exactly what your job is. That's your only job, is to have a conversation with me.
Oh.
On Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, and Saturdays on our various channels.
Oh, okay. I need to unionize then, because I think that's too much responsibility.
That's a one-person union.
Yeah.
That's just you violating the contract.
So it's 50% of the workforce.
You should... We're going to get stock and just figure this out. So yeah,
I want stock options.
If we could trade anything, I think I would want to trade your hair. I like your hair.
I don't like your hair. I don't want that switch.
I know. I'm just saying, like, that's what I would switch.
I have a very high hairline.
Would you get my beard? Do you want my beard? It's a pretty good beard.
No, I'm good.
It's a good
Once I hit second puberty, I'll be able to grow a beard too, and it'll be all right.
Mine's really bushy right now. It's good. I'm gonna shave it later. I'm gonna shave it, not off, just trim it. I'm gonna trim my beard. You guys want to hear my beard? Want to hear my beard talk to you? What's my beard's name, Hugo? While it's talking to you.
Fernando.
Hello, I am Fernando. Let me love you. See, he talked.
Terrible. So thanks, everyone. You can always check us out on Twitter at Bible Reloaded.
You can follow Hugo at Hugo Reloaded, and you can subscribe to get more Fernando.
You could always donate to our Patreon campaign. We do a once a month patron-only hangout. Maybe Fernando will be there. I don't know.
Fernando will show up.
So thanks, everyone. Until next time, I'm Hugo.
And I am Fernando.
And this has been Jake Reads Your Comments.
The most sensual Jake Reads Your Comments of all time. Featuring Fernando the Beard. Which sounds like he's just someone, like a beard, like, I don't want you to think I'm gay, here's Fernando. Which would make you think I'm gay.
If you get to ban heroin, I get to ban you from doing that voice ever again.
It's not a voice, it's my beard. It's an undying bit.